Okay.
Hey now, and how are you doing? Want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Man, today we're going to have a really interesting conversation about, dark shadows and shadow work and so many other things. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. If I was any better, I'd be too.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it is raining on my side, so you're probably doing better on that end.
It was raining early this morning, but I had so many things to do this whole weekend. It rained, but I had so many things to do. I got through so much. I love sometimes when it rains, not all the time, but I love that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So my name is Sayen Gates. I am based in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a shadow life coach. That's someone that not only dives above surface level stuff, but I empower people to accept not only their authentic selves, but the shadows that they carry throughout their daily lives. Some could be as little as you're not thinking you're enough, or you're thinking you're too little or not too big. Like all these little tidbits or some stuff that we carry sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like a lot of times it's when people hear the word shadow work, they get kind of scared because they think it's like oogie boogie stuff. And I'm like, no, this is something like based off of psychology first before it even became like uh anything within the Wiccan territory, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, sure, yeah, because that's what I really wanted you to explain. So, what do you mean by shadow work, right? I mean, my definition when I go to shadow work is some of the past traumas I might have lived through, and how do I overcome? How do I work through those shadows? What do you? Is that the same definition for you?
Yes, to me, and also so let's just break down what it means like for shadow coaching as a whole. This is something that psychologists used because it was based off of I think he's a Russian or German scientist by the name of Carl June. He believed that a lot of us have this not shadow selves to ourselves, but the things that we carry throughout from childhood to all the way to adulthood that we either press down or we suppressed because it didn't help us function throughout the whatever the mainframe of life that we have now. So me, I took the spiritual approach when it came down to shadow work because I was working with my own stuff. I was a person that was a people pleaser. I didn't think I was enough. I overgave to where sometimes my battery was negative, not empty, but negative, to where I was incapacitated for probably about two, maybe a week because I was giving, and I never got anything to receive. So, doing my research when I was learning shadow work, I realized that a part of that is not just you accepting the darker parts of yourselves.
Hmm.
It's like little tidbits of yourself that you felt like it's not a good fit to the puzzle of the life that you're making.
Hmm.
When in actuality, it could be the piece that you were missing as you were walking and growing up. So as I was um, building through my spirituality and growing up Christian, I realized that there was two things that added up here. Number one, not only do we serve the same God, but just in different names, but we all believe in a higher power that um, we serve them as a way of giving back to the world. So in that time, my mom and them thought that my mom said that I had what's called a giving spirit. It's one of the many gifts that they say that God gives to his people. So I was like, okay, so I have the gift of service. So this is something that is also one of my love languages. I love to serve others and I love to help others. So two and two together, that made my life a lot easy, but she also said it's kind of hard because there are some people, which I couldn't even see that then, that would take advantage of that type of gift. Because if they don't have to do it, they can always recruit somebody else to do it. So
Yeah,
there were
you
some
know,
people that probably took advantage of it, and then there's other people that were thankful for it but didn't know how to repay it. Like it was a lot.
mhm.
Um, and going back to the shadow work, there was a lot of things within me, like religious trauma, trauma from uh, being sexually assaulted, and then being emotionally and physically abused that I personally had to go through in order for me to be the person that I am before you today. Um, Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot, but how did you start recognizing that you had it, right? You didn't know because when we're young and we start learning these things, we, we don't know, right? We just think everybody has it. How did you start becoming more aware of the gifts that you had, as you were growing through it, to be able to have that conversation with your mom?
Um, I knew honestly, yeah, I knew between her and my father's sister because they always, you know how like when parents they watch children very closely to see
Mm.
if there's bits and pieces of them that they see early. So like my mom would see bits and pieces of my father and me and then bits and pieces of her. Like she was the type of person that she never really expressed her emotions, so she would bottle it up. So I adopted that from her. But I was also the child that when the bottle finally shook up, that I spazzed, and I would make sure that everybody knew that I was cutting every throat in there unapologetically. And she slowly but surely, both of them taught me ways to delegate both things because she's like, there's times to spaz, and then there's times that you need to handle things diplomatically. Uh, and I, at that time, I was like in my early 20s. I was like, okay, so what do you mean by diplomatically? Does that mean I just pick out three facts and then that gives me the right to go off, or does that mean that I don't go off, and then I have to walk with the fact that I could have said these five, six, seven other things to this person and then go out with my life. Um, the one thing my mom and my aunt both had in common were that they were like, for some people, when you meet them or when you interact with them, they don't know the real you until they're around you 24/7, or
Sure.
if they're around you often than most. So, um, you always have to handle things diplomatically because sometimes if the all the facts aren't drawn together, then you will go off on people that could have actually helped you, or you could have gone off on people that could actually be an aid in your healing.
Mm.
And at that time I didn't know anything about that until they like explained me the steps. Like my aunt would say, before you go off, ask yourself this question: is it worth it? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your energy? And are they worth it as a person? Because if you know their patterns and they've already shown you exactly who they are, why stoop to their level? Why put yourself in that position?
Okay, and that was part of the teaching because they must have the gift also,
Mhm.
and that shadow work. Explain how you use that as a coach.
So, as a shadow coach, I look at I don't just coach someone. I look at them as like if they were a member of my family, like the roles that my mom and my aunt took when they were to look at me and see if there was tidbits and pieces like from my father and her.
Hmm.
The same concept that I use with my clients because of the fact that I ask them, "What's your name? How are you? What do you feel right now?" Because I start to get to know the child in them first before I start to get to know the adult.
Mm.
Because sometimes you end up hearing the child first before you hear the adult speak. And whether we know it or not, like the child in us all day, every day has a conversation with us. Sometimes we're so coexide with life that we kind of tune them out, but
Hmm.
in actuality, that child can actually help you, or whatever age that in you that at some point they felt as if like they didn't have a voice. They're trying to communicate with you more than anything. So I listen and I tried my best to make sure that I give space and give the microphone to that child. That's how I developed Shadow Corner, my podcast. Every part or stage of me that I felt like I was unheard, I gave it the microphone and I gave them a chance to speak. Um, in that process, it took a lot of me writing my feelings down, taking a moment to listen in silence, taking a moment to be able to meditate and realize that um, in all of this, in all that we have to understand that it's not the person that you're reacting to, it's the situation and the things attached to them.
Mm,
So it's like you could be mad at someone, but you're mad at the person because you know that they could have done better and you probably see good in them.
right.
But you're go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, no, and it's really sometimes we're not angry at anybody. It's because of something within ourselves that we recognize in somebody else. So, while maybe I did something to somebody, but it really has nothing to do with that other person. It just is my reaction because of how I was feeling and how I needed to get through that work.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, that's why I said it's like it's you have to dissect the person and the problem before you can actually do the work.
Sure, yeah. You have to identify what the problem is, right? You uncover the patterns that hold you back or that are setting you apart from your authentic self.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that one pattern that I, like I said, that I used to have was I would get angry very quickly.
Mm,
But when I noticed that in the old folks' term, you get more bees with honey than vinegar,
yeah,
that's when a lot of the things that I started to develop, I was like, I realized that if I don't have all the pieces, I can't make the initial reaction that I need to make, or I can't make the decisions for my life that I wish that I can at the moment because I don't have all the facts yet. I don't have all the pieces. But the pieces that I do have, I have to not make the assumption because one of the books that helped me along the way was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel.
yep,
And he discusses about like the four ways of like how you should, in my terms, live your life at a best living through this human life respectively.
yep.
And then don't make assumptions was number one on there. And I was like, that's something that my mom and my aunt always taught us. Don't make assumptions of somebody or their position or anything else because you never know what type of life or issues that they're personally going through, and then you could be that helping hand to help them. So I always looked at people as a person that I know that they can not only do good, but they can also make decisions that's aiding of their life. But sometimes we don't always have that's guidance all the time.
We don't have those foundations. I mean,
Right, right.
depending on how we grew up, we might not have been taught that. And, that's one of the first patterns I guess you have to recognize what you know. Like I always grew up with a lot of things, and I said I didn't know. But once you learn or take the time to learn those things, you can kind of find some balance in the chaos or your patterns to see what's holding you back when you start diving and being aware. You can't make somebody see something they're not prepared to see.
And that's another thing that gets hard when it comes to shadow work. Sometimes, or even shadow coaching. Sometimes there are those people in our lives that are so subconscious of the things that they do that they don't know that they're still doing them.
Yeah.
Or especially if it hurts people and they don't like it. Like, I'll give you a firm example because this happened to me recently. Me and a friend of mine, we went to an event and she made a lot of like backwards comments, sometimes side comments, and she thought were quote unquote funny, but to me they weren't. So it was like I had to step aside for a second, and then I had to pause, and I had to pull her aside. I was like, "Hey, you've been throwing medieval knives at me for about a good week now, so I need to know what's wrong with you."
Right.
Because I was like, now understand, the old me would have just backhand you and just went about my way. And it's like, it is not me being mean. It's just that that was the anger that was attached.
Right. It,
And-
it was a response that you learned growing up as how to respond to when people are treating you poorly and it becomes uncomfortable.
right. So when I talked to her, I was like, okay, so what exactly is going on? What exactly are you doing? Because like it seems like I am the middle focal point of your anger, and I have no idea why or what I did to you. And her thing was she did not realize she was doing it. I was like, well, it's not the first time you've done it. You've been doing it for months, and I'm trying to figure out what the beef is. For her, okay. So what to
Well,
make
I
it
guess for you, you felt the attack. She wasn't meaning it as an attack, so you were both going down a path that didn't make any sense to either one of you, right? She's joking and she's like, whatever, whatever she had said, and you're feeling it because it was something within yourself. So how do you recognize those patterns that come in our lives that we don't know what triggers us? You know,
so the best way I can describe that part was through a saying I used to tell one of my friends. I was like, "You'll no one will ever know your, no one will ever know your, no one will ever walk into on your property, and you have landmines and you didn't give them the diagram. So you can't get mad if they step on one and you blow up and they wonder why they can't be around you."
hmm
How I defined it is this fact that if these patterns, if these patterns or these instances come in around the same time that you're going through your healing stage, then that means not only do you have more healing to do, but it also means that there's something else deeper than the surface level. Surface level stuff could be just the fact of, again, I don't think I'm enough. But if we dive deeper than that, I remember when I was like 6 years old or 8 years old, and I was trying to I made a B in class, and my father scolded me saying that I should try harder compared to my brother that always made A's and he'd always get what he wanted. And it's like you start to actually piece together. It's like the reason why you blew up like that is because you're putting the same energy that you had with your brother and you were envious onto me because you think that I'm about to do you and embarrass you the same way your father embarrassed you.
Yep.
And that's not and
Right.
that's not okay.
Right. Yeah. But you have to recognize it, and that's a really different and difficult. It's not only different, but it's difficult to recognize those things. So, like in my life, um, my dad used to point at me and do a lot of pointing and yelling and making me. I didn't know that that was a trigger. And when I found out about it, now it's probably about 15 years ago, and I'm telling my one of my best friends, and he goes, "Oh, I knew that." He goes, "I would never point at you." And I'm like, "Dude, why didn't you tell me?" Because how do we do that, or how do we feel the comfort level to let people know what their triggers are? That when we notice it, we don't always notice it. I'm not about to say that we do, but how do we go through that part of the shadow work, right? It's that and the shadow work really is where you need to shine more light on it. It's not about just let it go out, and because it leads to healing, right? Putting on I think Martin Luther King said, all you have to do is to end the darkness is bring a candle. You just have to have a little bit of that light. So how do you integrate the shadow work with that feeling of uncomfortableness or being overwhelmed, scared, frustrated, right? Any of those less good feelings, those negative things.
I'm sorry to say it's just about as simple as it can get, taking it one step at a time.
Mm.
Because, like I said, you just said you dealt with something for 15 years. That's like you saying that you've been carrying this bag of rocks that's been over 200 pounds for 15 years.
I was
So
carrying
it's
it
like,
longer. It was about 15 years ago when I found out about the thing that I've been carrying around my whole life. These were friends who were in my life for like 25 years at that point, and they didn't say anything. And then 15 years ago is when I found out about it, and they're like, "Yeah, I knew that." I'm like, "Man, you wasted 25 years of our lives in a, not telling me something that could have helped me in so many other ways."
Okay, so the best way I can tell you this,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure that your friends will probably agree with me, is the fact that they knew how to navigate you
Mhm.
throughout that time period. So it's like, and they probably saw, and it's like, again, just like children are observant, adults are just as observant.
Mhm.
They still have that childlike curiosity. There's always a guinea pig that comes during the test to show the people around you how far you have come. And whether you know it or not, it could be as subtle as someone sitting here pointing a direction or someone just in your face and you never knew why. So the reason why they let you navigate that is because of the fact that they just accept that this is just a part of you.
Well, I guess it's
and
one of the
and to
landmines
respect
also.
you, yeah, and to respect you, they made sure that they didn't do anything to hurt you because they look at you exactly as you are. These are what we call core friendships.
Mhm.
These core friendships that last about 10 to 15 years, these are the foundational ones that you based on all your other relationships and friendships on. And they recognize not only your shortcomings, but they also recognize your good qualities. And when this situation happens where it's like, why didn't you tell me? They were like, I thought you already knew. Or I was like, we felt like it was better to not tell you and let you find out on your own. There's some people that just don't want to wash their hands of it. And it's not that they're keeping that from you. It's just the fact that they love you down enough to know when that type of stuff happens, they know how to check you. There was probably one point somebody did exactly that. Somebody pointed at you, it did something wrong, they saw it and they saw how you reacted to it, and they knew that they didn't want to be on the other side of that gun.
Yep.
So they knew exactly how to navigate you. And that's what I love so much about core friendships, because these are the people that have seen you through the worst of the worst, and they've also seen you to the best of the best, and they still love you anyway. And that's how we should do ourselves when we go through shadow work. Even if you see the ugliest part of yourself or the worst of the worst, you still love it anyway. It's shining a light in darkness. My logo on my podcast is a lantern, because each time that you listen to me or listen to part of the podcast or someone that's a guest on the podcast, you're willing to take note on shining the light on some parts of your life that you know that you need improvement or you need some help with. And there's people that's just either just like me or outside of me that are willing to help you. So it's not something for you to keep or to beat yourself up about.
Oh,
This is something
right.
that's just recognizing like this is a core memory that's attached to a reaction. And when that reaction happens, can I catch it before I react, or do I just let the reaction go out and then process it later? But when actually you're supposed to be doing it before.
Right, and that's why to try to do so much of this shadow work is so important to do it, because it makes you a better person. It's the things that you kind of combat, and you make sure that there's as much light, because if not, you're pushing things under the rug, and you don't realize it. But you know, but I guess for me, I thought and at one point I thought I had done all the work that I needed to do, not realizing that there were more levels, and I don't know that it ever stops, right? So because as we grow and we get to a higher level, we might see ourselves in a completely different way that we wouldn't have seen ourselves even when we first started handling it. And that doesn't mean it goes over and over again. You could change your behaviors. Like I always say, tell me something that I have to improve upon, and then it's a choice if I choose to improve upon it or not. Because from my view, it was fine. I didn't realize the impact. Now that I'm much more self-aware, then that to me is one of the lights that I always use. I try to always put myself in that self-awareness, is making sure I'm giving people what they want and what they need versus, what I want to give them.
Right. And that's another thing that you have to realize. Um, just because you pass one test does not mean that there aren't other tests to be taken. And that's what in my visual is what shadow work does. It allows you to not only take care of the heavier part, but spirit God will always retest you to make sure that you're still keeping up with what you said that you were going to do. It's literally like a parent holding you accountable, or your friends that hold you accountable for the things that you do or the things that they see. And if you're not holding up your end of the bargain when it comes to you, loving on you, being able to not only hold yourself accountable, but be emotionally intentional
Yeah.
with what you're striving for, then you will backslide a little bit. You will have to be probably retested. And I know some people don't like tests, but these are the things that helps us through our evolution. And it allows us to be the person that we are 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years from now. The person that I am at 34 would have probably backhanded a girl in the 20s because there was a lot of red flags that I could have saw, or a lot of red flags that I saw that I ignored because I said, quote unquote, I love him.
Right.
But I was like, but now those same red flags, if I see them now, I'm like, yeah, nah, you good, fam. We Gucci. You can go ahead about your business. Just
Yeah, you got to, and that's part of that learning. That's part of, and so you've been doing it for a while, and you grew up kind of learning how to do this. You grew up with the mindset. You built that foundation, and you've taken that foundation in a lot of different ways. I know you're an author. I know that you're a doula. What brought you to become a doula?
so the one of the things that I loved so much about being in the medical field for 8 years was that I worked for a GYN office for 3 years, and all I saw was babies and happy women. Some not so happy if they had a miscarriage, others
Sure.
that were happy because they were having either twins or quads. So,
Wow.
um, I wanted to become a doula because I felt like it was essential to the main goal, because my goal is to be a holistic practitioner. And to look at all different matters of life, you have to look at birth, death, and rest. So for me, you have a choice to be either a birth doula that only is involved in like the birthing part of the world, the postpartum doula, the one that happens after birth, or you can be the death doula, the one that sits with the family, be's the emotional support,
Yeah,
for
I looked into that. So
yes.
which type of doula are you?
So I would be considered either the birth or postpartum doula.
Okay,
Me
from your
personally,
experience,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
don't
it's
like a lot
hard,
of
man.
sad stuff.
It's hard work. I've not been trained to be a doula, but I have a mental wellness background, my bachelor's degree and stuff like that. But I've had to sit with, unfortunately, with people that I know. So there was a lot of, during their transition, and that's what made me think about it. I was like, the person I am, it's I guess the same reason why you wanted to be a birth doula, right? You like seeing the happiness, and it's most happiness. It's not all happiness, as you mentioned about miscarriages and other things that happen during the birthing process, but majority is more happiness. Whereas a death doula, you knew what you're going to walk into, but it's the energy around that, and that becomes a completely different. But the same birthing process, the same transition process gives off the same energy. It's just how you apply it is how I look at it as well. How about yourself? What do you think about that?
I mean, I believe you're exactly right. For me personally, when I was in medical school, my professor that was a nurse, she told me, she was like, you would do great in cancer care. And I was like, no. There was an automatic, like I had the lowest voice that I said no. Because I was like, I'm a person And this is I pay homage to anybody who can be a deaf doula, work with
100. Yeah.
cancer patients, anything else, because that takes a lot of balls to be able to
Yeah.
sit here and be able to take care of people either whether in their lasting days or not, because sometimes that also takes a toll on you. I worked through COVID, in the height of COVID, when I worked for Lexington Medical Center, and that in itself was already a lot.
Sure.
So I was like, if I was, especially when on one end you have a guy that's screaming, help me, I don't want to die. And then you got someone over here that's wheezing and you don't know if they're going to take their last breath today. And I had to ask myself, I was like, do I want to work in that type of thing and then still have to come home to my husband and children and still love on them equally?
Right. Yeah. Right. It carries such an emotional toll. Um, to do that. Because I remember, the last time I did it was a couple of years ago, but again, it was a family member, and I sat 3 days, no shower, no anything. We just sat with her. It was just 3 days, man. I was just like, all right, taking care of and like waiting because they told me on Friday that any minute, and guess what? The woman was stubborn, and but until early Sunday morning, and I remember going home and taking a shower, not just because I needed it, but the cleansing part of that. Uh, I that's the same thing on a birthing, right? You can always be really up, and then there's still that letdown afterwards. Like you can't be up the whole time. So
Right.
how do
So
you manage some of those emotions?
for me, I've always had such of a mental balancing scale for
Mm.
myself. And it's like I make sure that put myself in situations and accept things. I accept clients in that situation as well, but I don't limit myself there
Hmm.
because sometimes there are some clients like as a doula that are birth and they're high risk, and then there's others that are they can just glide smoothly through their pregnancy and not have any problems, and it's a joy either way. But I still check in with the mother and ask them, "Are you okay?" Because during training they did tell us that yes, it's okay. It's like it's cool that you want to be a birth doula or a postpartum doula or anything else, but there are some people that even after birth that they don't accept their child. There's some people that
Sure.
they look at the situation differently, especially if something outside of birth is happening, like say for example they're getting a divorce, they broke up with their boyfriend, they don't have supportive family. Like this type of stuff actually shapes the mind of somebody, especially during postpartum, because they have a sense of, okay, so I'm alone now. I don't have anybody to help figure this out. And even the person that I'm with has already made it clear that they're helping me, but they're not helping me. And it's like you come in, you check on me, the i.e. doula, and ask me if I'm okay, if everything's do I have everything that I need, but it's like as soon as you leave, I'm alone again.
Yep.
So it's like we have to provide those resources, provide that emotional care when we're there, just basically holding space for the person there. In my practice, I do the same thing. And this is something that I've always done with my friends and family when they say, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Do you have 5 seconds?" I hold space for them and I fill the gap because we don't always have that person there right then and there that's going to be able to hold space for us, or we just lost the capacity to hold space for ourselves because we're so busy giving so much or not giving enough to ourselves that we lose sight of what that means of the words holding space. Holding space truly means you holding space for yourself and being able to give yourself permission to be able to be in whatever emotion that is in
Right.
that you're feeling.
Right. It's that sitting in and acknowledging it, and no judgment. So when you hold space for somebody else, you're just there. There's no judgments. It's listening. It's not reacting, not giving suggestions, not giving advice. It's just giving that person that space to just be, and that's a really powerful part to do. I know I've sat in space, holding space for a lot of people. It's not always the easiest. It's a skill that I had to learn, and because sometimes we want to jump in to help somebody so quickly, and then but you have to. Are you asking me for advice, or you asking me for just a vent? I just had this conversation with my friend over the weekend, and she called me up and she goes, "I'm not feeling good," and this and that, and I go, and I start rushing to jump in for the advice, and I go, "Whoa, whoa, are you asking to just vent, and I'm here for you? Do you want advice, and I can maybe help you through this situation, or you just want to just talk and we can talk about something nothing related to your topic?" And that's where you lead. Again, that's where right now I'm more self-aware than I had ever been, because I sought myself out. I mean, for the past couple of years, that you learn it. You put yourself through those fires to forge yourself to get through that. Put the light on the darkness, the shadows that were in within me, and moving forward.
And it's a hard thing to do as a coach sometimes, to be able to, sorry, let's put it this way, not as a coach because I can separate the two. It's hard as a person that is a coach and you have a friend that is one. When you call them and you ask them, or if you're calling them and you're like, I haven't had a great day today. I'm like, okay, so you asking me for my advice, or you
That,
telling me
that,
you need it?
that's the
Like
hard
I
part.
have to. It's like for us, it's like we have to clarify,
Yeah,
because automatically this is someone that we love, and in like in natural reaction, we want to help them because we don't like to see people suffer. That was also one of the number one things during my shadow work I had to learn was everybody doesn't need my help, always need my help. Sometimes they just need a shoulder, or they don't just need solutions. Sometimes they just need somebody to help them just like vent and be able to get it out. And
sure.
then after that, I have to take a moment to cleanse and ground and be able to say, okay, cool. These are not my emotions. These are not my things. This is not my baggage. However, I give it back to who it which it came. Not saying it's going back to the person, but it's going back to where it was created.
Right.
So it's one of those grounding things that I do to keep myself out of it, because I have a friend that is an Aquarius, and sometimes she be on 10 when I get on the phone. Then when we start geeking and laughing, and next thing you know, she's on 3. And she's like, and I'm like, you straight? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm still a little irritated, but I'm much better than I was. And I was like,
There you go. Right. There's so many different ways to release those energies, and it's not always about healing the shadows. It's sometimes just being there and holding that space to let them just be that authenticity and who they are.
right. And I know a lot of people that don't actually know what that means, of being able to have that space to just be, because like I said, they probably didn't have that growing up. They probably didn't get that. My father was that for me, because of the fact that I'll be sitting here saying that I am so mad right now, and he asked me, what's wrong, why are you upset? He wouldn't yell at me, he wouldn't be mad at me, he would just hold the space for me. He'd say, what's wrong? And I'd tell him, I was like, because your girlfriend is making me mad. And he's like, you talking about your mama? I was like, yes, she is making me mad. She's irritating me. And he was like, that's your mama. That's not the point. She's still irritating me.
Right. It doesn't
Again,
matter
this
if it's
is,
if it's my mama or not.
yeah, she's
Right.
still irritating. But it's like he gave me the space to be able to express how I feel. And then he would do the same thing his sister does to me too, where she's like, you know that you're not supposed to do that, or you know that you're much better than this. So why would you let somebody take you there? Why would you let somebody push you to that mode? But he was like, but the good thing is you didn't go as far as I thought you would. So I'm proud of you. I'm like, wait, did you not expect anything of me?
Yeah, yeah, well, right. There's growth, right? There's a period where when we don't act the way we normally had acted in the past, you can look back and see yourself as growth. Um, so as we get closer to the end of the episode, I always have people walk into the magic garden. And speaking about growth, I want you to help us and maybe plant a seed. So, like a piece of advice that might resonate with us right now, but also which might resonate in the future. We'll be sitting back and be like, man, that was some really good advice. Do you have one seed you'd like to plant right now?
Um, So this one is a good one. So I have to hold on. I have to think
Oh,
about
I'm
this.
sure.
Uh so honestly, I believe my best seed to plant in anybody's garden would be that mm, I'm trying to find make sure I'm wording it the correct way
Okay.
so it doesn't sound
Take
weird.
your time.
Okay. So the seed I want to plant is not just about holding space, but it's also about allowing yourself permission and you insert whatever there.
Mm,
Because, like I said, a lot of times we are so much of givers that we give permission for others, but we don't give permission for ourselves. Like, you need to give your permission to be happy. You need to have the permission to be able to live this life knowing that you did everything plausibly possible and you made all the decisions that could have led to whatever decision that you make and you've grown as much as you can in this stage in this life, and you just need to be proud of yourself on that. But most importantly, like I said, give yourself permission to have that joy of being not only proud of yourself but allowing yourself to be able to walk this life knowing that even after one test, you're still worthy to go on to the next. And you're still worthy to be able to build more onto yourself. And this is something that I had to learn during the grief with my mother's sister when she passed from stage 4 lung cancer. Um, I didn't give myself a chance to sit in that grief because I was like, bills got to be paid, things have to be caught up, everything has to be done. But I was forcing myself to do something, but not giving myself permission to feel that grief, not
right.
giving myself permission to say, I can't do this right now. I have to walk through this. And I robbed myself of that decision. And in end result, it did cost me a day of work. It did cost me part of my mental when it came down to growing in that space because there could have been some good wisdom in there. But the decision I made was at the capacity that I could receive it at that time.
Right.
And
And
know
I,
that,
yeah.
yeah, and know that you have that, be able to love that capacity or know your capacity at that time is enough to say that you gave yourself permission for that, if that makes any sense.
Nah, it makes a lot of sense. But because permission is such a powerful thing. Sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to forgive ourselves for our past. Is I didn't know, right? When you didn't know
Hmm.
what you didn't know, but once you knew, you had to give yourself the permission to the responsibility, which is bigger than permission, but it's also the permission to give yourself the grace or give somebody the grace for that moment that gets us upset. That and also, as you said, the permission to receive. A lot of us givers, we just have to give, 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 and then there's nothing left for us. So the permission for us to receive is so powerful.
And I hope that when you incite that, you start living your life a lot more abundantly than when you started. Like I said, at birth, we were already innocent as it is. We knew exactly what we wanted at that time because we reacted on what we gave ourselves permission for. But when we grew up, we knew that there were rules, regulations, and different things that we had to follow in order to function in the system that we have now. But when you get older, that doesn't take away from your permission. It gives you an opportunity to choose it. So I encourage you to choose not only yourself today, but also to choose what makes you feel happy. Give yourself permission to enjoy it. And even after it's gone, still give yourself permission to do everything else that you love. Don't stop just because you had one moment. You can have multiple moments as long as you do what makes you feel happy, what actually puts a fire in your belly. And this, like being a shadow coach, that's the best part about it. Being able to see that light that was dim for a lot of people after a long period of time, that gives my heart so much joy because it lets me know that the work that I do and the people that I impact, it allows me to be able to grow as well. Because not only do you grow with your experiences, you grow with your clients as well.
for sure. And you've definitely helped us grow a lot today. How can somebody find you to grow a little bit more?
So you can schedule time with me at www.shadowcornerlifecoaching.com. And you can check out like the about us, how we got started, and then you'll get to know a little bit about me and everything. And then I can't wait to see you. You get a free consultation on the first go. What better way to start? You get an hour free with me so we can see where we can like put your goals ahead. And if you're not someone that doesn't have the time to stop and pause, I do have a podcast called Shadow Corner Podcast where the first season, it talks about me and my traumas, my issues, the patterns that I had to go through, the overthinking and everything else. And in the second season, I bring people that have been where you are and they've chosen to jump over those hurdles by doing some simplistic things. And I encourage you to listen to them because I was always taught by my teacher that every person that you see and watch is a walking library. In order to check out the book, all you have to do is have the conversation.
100%. And you've mentioned so many times about all the tests that we're given, and every test will give us also a lesson. So thank you so much. I appreciate all the learning, and this was clearly a lesson for me today, and I appreciate that so much.
It is my pleasure. I'm always here to help.
Okay, thank you. And for everybody else, as always, just wish you some peace and love in your life as a great foundation to move forward. And when you're bringing a bat, bring awesome thoughts and wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Bye for now.